So President Zelensky of Ukraine has now come out and made another major concession to Vladimir Putin. So let's take a look here. This is reported in Reuters. Ukraine is willing to become neutral. So he's already done that concession, but now he may do more. And compromise over the status of the eastern Donbas region as part of a peace deal, President Zelensky said. Zelensky took his message directly to Russian media in a call that the Kremlin warned Russian media not to report. Whoa. Now that's bizarre. So he's going to Russian media and saying, I'm willing to concede on your major points. And the Russian government is like, don't you dare show him saying that he wants to concede on our major points. Now, why would President Putin do that? Why would he do that? Maybe because the things that he has stated as these are the major concessions we need, maybe that's not all he wants. Maybe he actually wants more than that. So stop and think about it. Now, we already knew, because this is now the third time Zelensky's come out and said, no NATO. Okay, no NATO. He said it before the invasion. He called Ukraine joining NATO a dream. And then he made clear recently, look, we're not going to join NATO. It's off the table. He said it even more clearly than he ever did before. And now is the third time he's saying, the thing that Vladimir Putin, the thing that you claim you care the most about, you got it, dog. You win. It's over. You won on that front. I'm giving you, it's a full concession. So you want our neutrality? You don't want us to be part of NATO? Okay, well, we're going to be neutral, and we're not going to be part of NATO. The third time he's now said it. Now, is there an acknowledgement from President Vladimir Putin? No. Has there been a drawdown of troops after he said this? No, there has not. So the nominal biggest thing Putin cared about, he's won on, and he's still in the country. Okay. But then we get the next biggest thing. Now, this tweet sort of misstates it just a little bit because I read the entire article, and it goes further than that. They're not actually just talking about the eastern Donbas region, which now that's on the table. Now, I don't know if Zelensky's saying we'll agree to have them as independent states, or I don't know if he's even going a step further and saying, look, who are we kidding? You guys could be part of Russia. I don't know. My guess is that if a deal's actually worked out and reached, it's going to be, okay, that's now part of Russia. So Russia just annexing territory that was Ukraine's. But it actually goes further than that. His actual quote was the currently occupied regions. He said, Ukraine cannot fight back to get some of the regions which are occupied by Russia now, because then that would spark World War III. So he's conceding that not just Eastern Donbas, he's also effectively saying Crimea, which they took in 2014 and have occupied ever since. So now you have the Ukrainian president saying, no NATO, we're going to be a neutral state. So in other words, we're not going to align with the West. And then also, if you want Eastern Donbas and if you want Crimea, well, let's work out a deal and maybe that happens. So wait. So now we're at the point where the main things that Putin was saying he wanted, he now has. So I'm waiting. Let's go. Like, is the deal coming? Is the deal going to be announced? Is Putin going to accept this? Because he's winning on his biggest prongs. And again, he hasn't yet. Now, maybe he will. And if he does, that'll be great. And maybe we just averted a worst case scenario where there's been tit-for-tat escalation, maybe where we might end up in World War III. But as I've told you guys from the beginning, my thinking has evolved on this the more information I took in, and the more I read about it, and the more I listened to Putin's own words, because it was clear to me this wasn't just about NATO. This was also about territorial expansion goals. This was about Russian imperial ambitions. This was about gaining access to the natural gas that's in Crimea. It's in eastern Ukraine, but it's also in western Ukraine. And so the invasion, remember, did not just happen in the east. It wasn't just in the east. They also moved on Kyiv. They also moved on Lviv, which is the western portion of the country. So it looked to me like his real ambition was march in, take over all of Ukraine, and effectively declare, this is ours. And along with Ukraine being theirs, so would all of the tremendous amount of natural gas that was just found in the country. That's my guess. I think that's a big motivating factor in a similar way that what the U.S. did in Iraq had a lot to do with oil. So we'll see. I hope that this is enough of a concession where Putin's like, good enough, I'll take it. Because the economy is imploding at home for Russia. They've become a global pariah, the likes of which I'm not sure I've ever seen. This is far above and beyond what happened with Iran, far above and beyond what happens with like Cuba. So I hope it's enough. I hope it'll work, but it's also possible it doesn't. We'll have to wait and see. But the possible things moving forward are there is some sort of deal along these lines that's worked out. We avert World War III that satiates Putin enough with his expansionist goals. But then what's likely to happen is he'll keep funding other separatist regions and eventually in another 10 years he'll invade somewhere else and try to take it. That's also possible. It is possible that the idea of appeasement just crumbles and doesn't work at all. And it is also possible now that even with this deal on the table, as we're currently seeing, it's not enough because he wants all of Ukraine because he said it. Blood and soil speech. We built Ukraine. We funded Ukraine. They're in debt to us. They turned their back on us. And so now we're going to take what's rightfully ours. That's effectively what he said in his speech. So I don't know how it's going to go. But all I can say is this. What Zelensky is doing is far more serious in terms of trying to get peace compared to anybody else in the conversation. You got Biden giving a speech talking about, the Russian regime needs to be changed. This this man cannot remain in power, or whatever he said. That's roughly the words that he said. You have Putin, who's gotten concession after concession, not acknowledged it, and not changed course after getting those concessions. So it looks like Putin's not upfront and honest and really a partner in peace because he wants more. And it looks like Biden's not a partner in peace because we're just trying to squeeze out the Russian regime and who gives a fuck what comes next. And it looks like Zelensky's the only one who, to some extent, is serious about this, which is why he's making these concessions. But there's also things you could read between the lines here, too. Like, is one of the reasons why Zelensky's saying this because he feels like, well, if we don't get a deal like this now, then we are going to lose all of Ukraine. That's possible. That's possible. I don't know. But again, I just hope that some sort of deal gets worked out. And I will say, no matter what the terms of an eventual deal are, like, nobody's going to be happy. But that's usually what happens when you have a war. At the end of it, it's usually not clean. It's not clean. There are no winners. In war, it only creates losers on top of losers on top of... Everybody loses. Everybody's upset. Families are broken. People are dead. And sometimes a negotiated deal is the right way to go. Sometimes there is no appeasing the aggressor. We don't know. Like, these are all things that when eventually things get settled in the future, you look back and you'll be able to get a better understanding of the situation more. In the moment, it's hard to determine it. But it strikes me that Zelensky's the one who's more a partner in peace than anybody else. The one thing he took off the table, which he's right to, is this idea of total demilitarization, where Putin's like, you have to give up like all your weapons. You're attacking them. I know I'm punching you in the face repeatedly, but you have to promise not to punch me back. What the fuck is that? That's the most ridiculous thing anybody could ask for, and that's what Putin's asking for. So, but we'll see. Is it enough? Will there be peace? I don't know, but make no mistake about it, this is a huge deal, and this is a giant concession. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.